Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M. What up, brother?
You getting the band back together there?
Band never left. Thanks for coming out, Joe. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to bring my little disco ball from the office here and show it on the screen. Yeah, I have it upstairs.
Women like the disco ball.
Well,
some guys.
I'll name a woman that needs one, and I'll gladly give her the one you gave me.
No, I ordered more.
You got lots of disco balls, huh?
I got a lot of balls. That's what people tell me.
No, it was a good show. It was a good show.
No, hey, it's for being together less than a year. That's pretty good. Damn well worth $5, Joe.
Yeah, it was your band, and then down the hall was the Bollywood band.
Yes, the Indians, not from Cleveland.
I'm like looking. I'm like, I see lots of people going in that normally don't go to a nightclub like.
Well, Mickey Finn's nice joint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great place. I've been there a few times now, and
I don't think I've been. I think I was there when it was somewhere else.
Oh, well, I've been there. Mary Cole had an event there, and a couple other people. It's a nice place.
Nah, Mickey Finn's is great. Liberty loves me. I just wish Lake Forest would. Speaking of loving us, Senator Susan Garrett, not to be confused with Sue Garrett. It's Susan Garrett. Oh, look at that.
There we go. We got her on camera.
Professional.
Success. I had a hard time last time, so.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So here we are, part 2 of Senator Susan Garrett. She had so much to say that we had to, go on. I had to get to band practice. I'm sorry, Susan. It's hard when you're charging $5 cover. You don't make a lot of money, so you got to hustle. Joe,
can I ask where your band plays?
We played Mickey Finn's last Saturday, and packed the joint. Stayed up a little bit later than I'd like to. Joe Weiss was there. Thank you for showing up again, Joe. really good.
Fun. It was fun. You guys
Brotherhood.
were great.
Mr. Pete's fan club.
Oh yeah, Blondie.
One of many.
What are some of the songs that you play?
We do all Blondie. So Heart of
Oh,
Glass,
that
Call
makes
Me.
sense.
Well, here's we're going to be playing Pierogi Fest this Saturday, and see the little dancing pierogies. That we got 2 hours worth of music there.
And Pete, you did a solo.
Private Idaho, yes.
Private Idaho.
We had to give the singer a little break, so people say I should be in my own Private Idaho, but don't worry, Susan, we'll get you out soon. Don't worry. So Joe, you liked Senator Susan last week. Susan, you had a lot of stuff to say. We cut you off. You had some notes. We had a little guest cancellation today, and we say, why not part two with Susan Garrett? So here we are at the public house. Susan, you can kick it off with whatever you feel like, it's at the top of your totem pole of things you'd like to address.
No, you start asking
Okay,
questions.
all right.
I don't want to initiate anything.
All right, then I'll initiate things.
I don't want to get on your bad side.
Oh. Joe Weiss, your thoughts on the caucus?
Well, I mean, I'm not the guest. Senator Garrett.
Well, no,
is the
she don't want to kick it off, so I'm kicking it off. Look,
I think, towards the end of the show, and we didn't get into it as much as we probably could have, but I think one of the issues you raised was the proposal by the city to build the new police station on Field Drive. And you raised some concerns. So do you, and we kind of did an abbreviated discussion of that. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the recording of the city council meeting where the alderman made their comments afterwards about it, or?
I didn't, but why don't you refresh us on what some of the comments were and who said them, and then I'm happy to add to it.
Sure. I'm not going to remember specifically the names. I think one of the more vocal ones, I think, was Alderman Gashgarian.
I do have just a couple of comments. First, the issue in front of us tonight, and only tonight, is either moving forward or not with the purchase sale agreement on 1925. And on the surface, given what the construction costs would be, there's a real value there. I see that, and I think most of us, or at least speaking for myself, I see a tremendous value in moving forward with this project. I want to encourage my colleagues up here, though, to recognize that it's been the Lake Forest way, been the tradition. We just don't write blank checks. As the city manager indicated, we're going to move down this process, and what we saw as initial project costs of 22 to 26 million or 25 million, that's not written in stone, all right? And we have a long history of really approaching some of these issues sort of in an a la carte manner. Most recently, the Deerpath Community Park. We had some initial project guesstimates that were far and above what we thought they were, and we were able to scale it back. So what Director Holub was showing us on potential financing, that's just purely informational. In my gut, I'm thinking that these costs are going to be significantly lower. So, but it's incumbent upon us to put up those financial guardrails. We are all just deeply appreciative of law enforcement and the work that they do, as well as for the fire department. But it's really up to us to set up some of those guardrails and make sure that those parameters we're sticking within. I mentioned Deerpath Park. I can go back before that, looking at the bluff stabilization project that we did down at the beach. Some of us were here when we had that initial project, and we looked at the total scope of that project, and we did narrow it down significantly to the more critical areas. I would encourage all of my colleagues up here to look at what is critical and what the needs are, and again, to Alderman Novitz's concerns about what the impact is on the tax bill. acknowledging that we have a dire need for an improvement, for our police department and their needs moving forward in the 21st century. But I want to emphasize that we're the ones who are controlling this project, and this is incumbent upon us to be very careful and mindful of the dollars that are spent, because it will impact future councils. I do think, though, as it's envisioned and with a level of fiscal responsibility, this is going to be an exceptionally, it's going to be a home run. It's really going to be a home run, and doing it the way we have always done it, the Lake Forest way, being very methodical, and I'm really especially glad that the city manager laid out the process moving forward. It may seem like this has come quickly. It seems like we may have been traveling at 70 miles an hour, but it's going to get thrown down into first gear really fast. And the involvement of the community, various stakeholders, getting all the input we can get is going to make this a very thoughtful, deliberative process. My biggest concern is making sure that we're supporting law enforcement to its fullest extent. And then closely behind that is making sure that we're doing it in an efficient and responsible, fiscally responsible manner. The item in front of us tonight is adaptive reuse. It's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, right? Why wouldn't we do it? I see tremendous value. But the hard work is actually going to be in the weeks and months to come in terms of making sure we're spending our money wisely, and we're looking at all issues in front of us and making sure that the public is made aware of it too. And sometimes we may get everything we want, and other times we may not. And another classic example is what happened out at Municipal Services Building 18, 20 years ago, Randy, something like that. I know it was prior to your time on council, but there was a budget, and we held to that budget. So, we're going to do the best that we can with what we have, but certainly it's not a blank check. And I want to assure the public that that is where we're coming from. At least that's where I'm coming from, making sure that law enforcement gets what they need and doing it in a fiscally responsible manner.
Very good. It isn't the rest of it, and there is a lot of work to be done before we get to that. That being said, if the project as estimated seems undoable, then there's obviously no point in buying a building. But the building is the issue this evening. The second thing is this is a 50-year asset. For those who don't know, I mean, the existing public safety building is 50 plus years old. It was designed for a completely different time. So when you talk about financing this and paying for this, and the amount of money that we're talking about for the global project allocated over 50 years, assuming that life, I think it looks a little differently than comparing it to, say, the athletic fields, which are basically a 10-year lifespan. Now, I don't want to get into that because there's things about that we've budgeted for replacement of turf and other things. But I don't think they're comparable projects, and when you do compare them on their life, this seems like a much more reasonable project, particularly the requirements of public safety and how it's changing and everything else. So I do think that the purchase of the building requires that we have some degree of commitment, but not absolute, to sort of following through with the project, but the devil is in the details there, and we'll deal with that. The last thing I want to say about it is a tremendous amount of time and energy has been put into looking at how this project as a whole, not just the purchase of the building, but the whole project, is going to affect the taxpayers. So, the most common comment I get about it is concern about tax bill, which, coming off of the school referendum and everything else, I completely get that. It is our intent to, however this project goes, assuming that it does go forward, that we will make every effort to absolutely minimize the impact on the tax bill so that the city is contributing as minimally as possible to progressive increases in property taxes. We are very, very sensitive to that, and Elizabeth and her team has done tremendous modeling, taking into consideration the debt of other tax bodies, which I can tell you, when other tax bodies issue debt, they don't consider what we're doing. But we consider what they've done and how it affects our taxpayers and how we are going to allocate debt over time. So I just want the public to be aware of that.
But basically saying, look, what we're voting on tonight, which was now a couple weeks ago, is the purchase of this property. We will now go through a very open process with our police department, the public works department, and just, you know, the city in general, as to how much we're going to spend, what we're going to do with this property. You know, as you said, I don't think anyone's disputing the need to have the police department have a better facility than what they've had now. They're sharing a property now in Deerpath with the fire department that's been there since the 60s. And before that, they shared the building that is now Lake Colonial Restaurant on Bank Lane. I can't imagine those guys working there, but
that different. That was 100 years ago.
Yeah, but it's a different era.
Put in perspective.
Yeah, but and likewise, the police station in the 60s, police and fire station in the 60s, we're now in a different era. There are, you know, for example, in the 60s, there were no female police officers or female firefighters. There are now, and they just don't have enough space to do male and female locker space for everyone there, like as they should. So it's things like that have prompted the need to find another place for the police department, and then just let the fire department expand in the present facility. Because you do want a centrally located fire station. So we all agree on that. There was some comments at the meeting about where the police station should go. Should it be all the way on the west end of town? And I think the consensus was that it doesn't really matter where our police station is, because our police officers are deployed anyways around the city at most times. I mean, I know we happened to have to file a police report about something a while back. We went to the police station and they actually had to bring an officer off patrol to take our report about it, because the officers are not really in the station. They're out and about patrolling the city. So, but back to the proposal and the concern about the cost, I think it's a three-story facility. It's been an office building, I don't know, like 15, 20 years. It has an underground parking facility, which I think the police like, because of they can, you know, store the vehicles there, not have to worry about the weather and the elements. They also are able to accommodate in an underground area a gun range for practice for the police. And I think they're talking about keeping the third level open, but they are having discussions with Lake County and some other law enforcement agencies about sharing that space, renting that space for stuff more than just the Lake Forest Police. So but again, they're going to study all that now that they have purchased the property.
Yeah.
And they're going to have what they say, and what I would think it will be a very transparent process, and they're going to have this all in public meetings. The public's going to be part of that. You're going to get the input of the police department, which I think they should get input on, because it's going to be their facility. So how do you feel about the idea of that? Because that was something you talked about last week.
Yeah, no, and so up front, we all agree that we need a new police department station.
No cop haters here.
So I think what I'm personally concerned about, and I've heard from others too, is that, this is a rhetorical question, are they putting the cart before the horse? Are they buying a building that in the long run may not really be best suited for that type of a facility, given the fact that they have to retrofit it, and that could cost, we've heard the number 40 million, maybe it's 30 million, but it's a lot of millions. And so, as we talked about before, the city is spending a lot of money on different projects. And how would they pay for that? And talking about Lake County moving in there and renting, I did check into that, and maybe that'll happen, but they have 2 facilities of their own. One is in Waukegan and one is in Libertyville. Maybe they need a third one that they'd like to work out of. I'm not sure. I've also heard that maybe they could rent out to the state police. I can't comment on that. Maybe that's a possibility. But the bottom line is, it certainly appears as if it's a lot of money going into this one facility. And would some of that money be better spent doing other projects in Lake Forest? I happen to say, repairing and repaving some of our streets. But, I'm not on the city council. I'm certainly not the mayor. I'm going to leave that up to them. But I actually got a call today from somebody in Lake Bluff, and maybe they're a subscriber to the podcast. And they said, what do you think about that police station? Do you think it's too much money? And I guess it's just a little odd to me that they would spend over $3.5 million on something that they're not absolutely sure of. I get it. It's a great deal. But quite frankly, your viewers may or may not agree with this. There's a lot of things I would like to have because they're a great deal, but in the long run, it might not be cost efficient. So that is where I stand.
I heard something. Now, this is what I heard. Okay. We hear things. Susan, you hear things. Joe, you hear things. There was a comment about the bonds, which I don't know anything about bonds other than I keep $50 in my shoe in case I run into trouble in the city. But
Or you need to buy somebody a beer at Mickey Finn's.
bond out of, well, actually, you don't need $50 anymore. It's cashless bail. I can do whatever I want. But Susan, somebody said something about that. You said that we're over bonded. I don't even know what the right term is. We're going to get a financial person on the show to kind of explain things. But what did you hear about that we can't offer any more bonds because we're maxed out?
So that's me speaking because I probably heard it too.
Yeah.
But I know that a certain amount of bonds were allocated for the new athletic fields and other projects. I know that bonds expired. I know that you can reissue bonds. I guess that would be a discussion to be had at the city council. So if they're projecting, $30 million or $35 million on this retrofitting, how would they pay for that? I mean, what are the different options for them? And obviously bonding is going to come up. There's no question. And then I guess you'd have to understand when certain bonds expire and where we are, how many dollars were allocated, where the tax cap fits into that. It's complicated. So if I overspoke, I apologize for that, but it's something that really needs to be talked about.
No, it's a valid concern, I think, and I think the Alderman feels it's a valid concern. Is they've been, the city has the lowest property tax rate in the county of any municipality. And they have a AAA bond rating. And they're very blessed to have Elizabeth Holub as their finance director. She's won a number of awards, recognized for that.
Come on the show, Elizabeth. Come on. Don't be shy. Jason, let Elizabeth come on the show. Continue.
But, and those finance committee meetings that they have before the council meeting, they're, as you know, from being in Springfield, those get really boring and people tend to nod off in those, but there's a lot happening there. And I think, they've tried to, the city's website, it's all there. They have a whole webpage on the police station project. And again, the council members did say none of this is going to be done secretly. They did go into executive session to purchase the property because under law, government bodies can conduct in executive session purchase of real estate, because if they did it in public, the price would jack up, which wouldn't be fair to the taxpayer. So
Well, just stop for a second there. I understand going to executive session for personnel matters, and probably real estate, but if it's a cut and dried $3.5 million and there's agreement from the city council members, why, I mean, and there's an agreement with a real estate broker on this, we know that. So why go into executive session?
well, having served on a municipal board myself that purchased property, is the reason was because if we can't get together under the Open Meetings Act and discuss business unless it's in, so we can't all get together at Duffers or the Lantern and say, hey, we're going to purchase this, or no, we're not. So there has to be a meeting to decide that. There has to be a meeting to see where the council, so
They voted on it. They voted.
The final vote was in public, correct?
Okay.
But that's passed. Okay, so the decision, the acquisition, the negotiation to get to that was done privately, as it should. Because if it gone public,
That's true, but why
We've gone
not, if you voted on it and everybody's in agreement, why then go into executive session over something so simple and so, I mean, transparent, obvious? Just.
the final vote was public and the final discussion was public. Like I said, it was
Well,
just
then what was the
when the
executive session about?
executive session was for negotiation of that, to authorize the city to negotiate it. So, I mean, I can explain that.
Personnel record or
Personnel, acquisition of real estate, or those are the two things that a municipal board
hey,
can go
Era,
into.
why don't you come on the show, dude?
Yeah, I
Well,
think,
he can't reveal what he did in executive session.
No, but he
That's-
can say why.
well, the
That's a
minutes
valid
of the
question.
executive session, the minutes of the executive session are generally published within a short period of
Yeah,
time.
that's true. So we'll all see it.
Okay, I don't
Well,
want to
so-
get in a fight with the city of Lake Forest or the city council members. I'm just saying, as
Why
we're
not?
talking about for the sake of transparency, and
Sure.
if there's agreement and it's a set price, the brokers have agreed to it. Help me out.
Sure. So when they got to that point, then they did go public. They had a meeting several months ago where they said, we're going to purchase it with an option. I think it was 90 days to then review and do due diligence. And that was all done out in the open. Everything since then has been done out in the open. And
But
they
when did
have
we go into executive session? Was it at this?
it was over 90 days ago. I mean, it
Oh,
was,
okay. I thought
yeah,
it was.
not the other, oh no, not the other night. Oh, no. It was over 90 days ago. Once the deal was made, that's all public, and they went public with it.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, and they have made it clear that all the discussions about how this police station proceeds forward from now on will be public, will be transparent. Like I said, there's a whole webpage about it on the city's website now that anybody
it
can
right
go to
here.
and look at it. And the community can have input on that. Now, obviously, when you do community input of you're going to get 18,000 different views potentially, but and they certainly, I think we all agree that the police should have input on the building that they're going to be using. I mean, we don't want to buy a building that the police department doesn't want to use, but. So it's all going to be out in the open, and people are going to know well beforehand what the costs will be. And the alderman did say, look, some of these estimates are going higher, but we're going to work hard to keep it down. But, there are some lessons learned in that. If you look at some cities like Glen Ellen, Glenview, or a couple examples where they did police stations and they saved some money up front. And then 5-10 years later, they were like, we should have also done this, and now we're going to retrofit it to do this, and it's going to cost more than if they'd done it initially. It's like, so they've learned that. But and if you built a new building from scratch, that's not cheap either. I think Wilmette is building a new police station for around, I think it's 50 million is what I heard. Now Rosemont is doing something very similar to what Lake Forest is doing. They purchased because they have a lot of commercial space in there, and office space, suburban office space is dying. I mean, the people are working at home and a lot of consolidation of that space. So they purchased an office building and are retrofitting it as their police station or public safety
Aren't
building, whatever
there
they call it
like
out there.
500 people that reside in Rosemont?
There's more than that, but yeah,
Help
it
me out
is.
again, Joe. Sorry.
I'm just saying, but they need a police department there to protect the Allstate Arena and all the convention center development.
Susan, is this how this stuff gets started? I don't want to look back in history, but like that turf as Joe is drinking out of a plastic bottle and all the people that don't like the
I recycle it afterwards.
Okay. Where does it go? What's going out there where people have a beef on what's going on? Because I don't want to point any fingers because I can't. Well, actually, I am because I couldn't get any of these people on. You got the block the box, you got the turf haters, you have, all that stuff. And when it comes down to it, it's a pretty cool field, and we've had a really rainy season here. But I went to the opening, Scu and I went to the first public session of, public gets together and you just get to hear people complain.
Grand opening of the athletic fields?
Yeah. No, but the opening of the discussions of having the athletic
Oh,
field.
okay.
So you had to hear, obviously, which side of the aisle that I'm on. I'm hearing these people complaining about plastics, and I'm looking right at their plastic bottle, not even a recyclable. It's a plastic bottle. How we can't have this stuff.
Pete,
But
that's not partisan, Mr. Pete. That's not
Yeah.
partisan. Some people are just environmentalists and they care about that. They could be Democrats or Republicans.
I don't know.
That's like saying Republicans aren't environmentalists. That's not true.
I recycle. I
Yeah,
recycle everything.
I'm a big Republican, so
I throw everything out in the garbage.
you want me here to
There's some Republicans there's a lot of Republicans who would disagree with that.
What's when we got Susan here?
I don't think you can say really, whether or not somebody's for or against having plastic water bottles determined.
I think that the issue, though, the greater is there were concerns about the plastic turf from some individuals, but there was concern about the costs as well. Now, going back on this, during the mayoral election, both Randy Tack and Prue Beidler went on record as supporting the turf fields, and I think when Prue was an alderman, she was part of the committee that was studying this or got the proposal she chaired the committee. Yeah. So the only mayoral candidate, we always forget the third candidate in that election, Paul Hammond, who was a guest on the show. That was his whole campaign was
what the hell happened to Paul Hammond? Hammond, my couch hasn't been the same. Where are you at, buddy? I missed those 10-page emails.
So I think there was, and they do finance it, and they do, like I said, they manage the debt, in my opinion. They manage the debt extremely well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a AAA bond rating.
But why don't they?
I can't speak to that, but I can say that there are groups of people in any community that are for or against projects and spending or not spending enough. And I think that is kind of what makes a community, and how you work with those people, how you deal with those problems or issues. So in the athletic fields, there were several people who were opposed. That's true, but they shouldn't be shunned or pushed in the corner as if they're radicals because they happen to believe very strongly about environmental issues, and they see that as an environmental problem. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, I want to throw out a name out so bad, but I don't want to piss off Susan.
You're not going to do it because that's why I'm on the show, because you're going to behave yourself.
Joe, I don't know what you bought here, but if you're against something, why would you show up to the ribbon cutting with a grimace on? I'm just throwing that out there, but that's not what I started. Susan, I wasn't going there. Okay. I went there, but I apologize.
What's that expression? Different strokes for different folks?
Well, there's a lot of strokes that I've met doing this podcast. So is that what happened with the turf where people got out of, because there's information out there. It's one thing to speak your mind, but if you haven't researched the point, and you're just going off of telephone game, I have a
So I
problem
don't
with it.
believe, well, I don't, sorry about that. I don't believe that to be the case for those people that were opposed to it. I think they did do a lot of research. I saw some of the stuff that they did.
Okay.
But I don't think we should belabor this. The money has been spent, the field is in place. Hopefully you'll get a lot of usage. They've got huge lights up everywhere. It's pretty,
All right.
speaking of Rosemont, they could bring in some big teams.
The
Well, no,
Chicago
tournament.
Dog. What's the team that the Chicago Dogs play in Rosemont?
I'm going to their game, the Chicago.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
You
bring some
buying a ticket?
bring sunscreen if you're going during the day because there's literally no covering
All right.
on
all right.
that field.
Let's get on to the next thing. Tournaments. You got any thoughts on tournaments, Susan? People don't want people from coming in out of town, parking and all that. If you do tournaments at that field, you can bring a lot of people that wouldn't have come to Lake Forest, spend money at our small businesses here. And some people are complaining about congestion, like there's no congestion when the kids get out of damn school.
So I walk by those fields every day. I do laps and stuff. What I'm kind of surprised about is how they're not being used as often as I thought. And maybe I'm missing things. Maybe there are certain times of the day. I did receive an email from the city saying we've got everything on film or video, watch the games. I don't think they get a lot of usage now, and maybe it's because they don't have tournaments, but there's enough parking, I would think, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they did some kind of an analysis to
Of course they
determine,
did.
and they probably are sure that they have enough parking.
What I get about this,
What I'm surprised about, so when I grew up in Deerfield, we had this park, it was called Jewett Park. And, baseball diamonds everywhere and all sorts of stuff all day long. Those fields were being used on weekends, after school, whatever it would be. And these fields, these athletic fields, it's kind of random how they're being used. It's, maybe there's a game on a Thursday night or something like that. But, or I'm missing a lot. I mean, somebody could call in and correct me, but my gut tells me for all the work that went into getting these fields and the money, they probably need to get more use and sell some hot dogs and bring the community together.
Well, the challenge, I think, I agree with you. I don't like walking by there or driving by there and seeing them in prime weather not being used.
Yeah, so it's not just me.
No,
right?
no. I think the challenge they have is, because I've seen this in other facilities in other communities, is you want to open it up, but you also want to give first priority to your residents because they're the ones that paid the taxes to build this. So, you don't want to tell the local Little League, no, you can't have this game or you can't schedule this tournament because we've rented it out to some group from another city. So I think, but
come up with a process whereby the locals would get their schedule out early and they block out those dates.
Yeah, so I think it should be worked through. I think that they had a transition of directors for Parks and Rec. Sally Swarthout retired.
the new guy.
And there's a new guy from.
Hey, Jason,
from
let the new guy come on. Parks and Rec.
He's from, I believe, Gurnee. And so I don't know. It's a good point, though. I think we should, obviously we should prioritize local residents and local organizations. But then, if there's a 10 o'clock on Saturday, 10 a.m. on Saturday, there's nobody using it. Let's get it used.
No.
And get some fees back.
We take our grandkids down there and they use the batting cage. Nobody's there. And they don't, this is like when they come in once or twice during the summer. But I think I'm glad you said that, Joe, because I thought maybe it's just me and I'm missing something.
Well,
but it is, I will say it's an improvement because my son umpires a lot of baseball games around the area. It's definitely, nothing is more of a bummer to a kid than your game being rained out. So at least now they have a lot fewer rainouts because the turf dries a lot quicker than a grass field.
Good to know. So I play golf at Deerpath, and as a resident and a senior citizen, I get a discount. I don't necessarily get a priority spot because I'm a resident or anything. I just pay less than somebody from Highland Park. But I don't know, there's pricing systems, and that's something maybe they should look at.
No, well, I think that's why they got the guy from Gurnee to figure this stuff out, because there's a lot of, I don't know, just doing a fantasy football draft is pretty complicated, getting this stuff together. But I do think on the off hours, you charge.
Programs say that, Mr. Pete.
Excuse me?
You can get, I think there's computer programs.
Is there?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, there are.
I got to pull out my Tandy 1000.
You don't have to do it all by yourself.
Susan, speaking about renting space, I heard you were trying to rent space a while ago. You want to get into that in the city?
Sure. I tried to rent space for a meeting. This was right before the caucus vote on, what was the last one?
Which one? Which vote?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was the one whether or not the executive committee should be approved or not.
Yeah, okay.
So there was a lot of back and forth and good stuff on both sides. And so myself and some others thought it would be a good idea to have a forum. We've had those, they've been held at Gorton in the past, and they've been good. A lot of people turn out both sides, but I'm about transparency. Democracy is messy. It's better to get the stuff out, let people, duke it out. But then when the final decision's made, people are happy. So I tried to get the Westlake Forest train station, where I helped put together a coffee for Prue Byler when she was running for mayor. And I don't remember exactly how that happened then, but I remember it was.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get emails, but continue.
Okay, that's okay, guys. It's all right.
No, go.
I'm just telling you the background. And so I arranged a coffee at the Westlake Forest train station. I know other organizations have had events there, and it was no charge, really easy. I don't remember maybe I filled out a form, and I thought if I did, it had to do with parking. So this time I called the city and asked if I can get that form for the Westlake Forest train station. I want to fill it out. Here's what I want to do. And I was pretty much shut down. I ended up, I think I called Kathy Cerniak, or somebody suggested that I call her. I called her, she called me back. She needed to call the city attorney. And then Kathy called me back and said, the city attorney said, no way. And I said, really? Seriously? And they said, yes, because it's a political discussion. And I said, this is not a political discussion. It might be looked at by some people as political, but in a community, you talk community issues, and that's really what this is. And they said no. And so I have to say, I'm a little surprised by that. And I've later found out that they don't have any policies or procedures on either accepting or denying people the use of a public building. Now, we could have gone to Gorton, but Gorton was going through some kind of construction thing, and there was really nothing available. But that's expensive. And maybe your viewers disagree with me, but when you live in a community, there ought to be a way in which community groups can get together, whether it be the League of Women Voters or your podcast,
library,
or the caucus. But the library, I mean, it stinks
down there. I get it. Did they fix that yet?
You
got a nice dome.
I don't think they can hold, like 100 people or so.
Oh, you draw 100 people? Come on.
Yeah, you've been to those meetings at Gordon.
I did.
Okay.
Transparent.
So how do you feel about it? I mean, am I out there on my own on this thinking?
I didn't know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, Kathy Z never done anything wrong to me. She hasn't declined me yet.
I'm not accusing anybody.
I am thinking about putting an extra window in my bathroom, so we'll see. But I want to paint my doorknobs red, but we'll see. I haven't had any problems with her, but the political stuff, is that the same thing as like Joe going out with his pledge pin and trying to get votes for something? Do you need a permit for that, or can you just
Oh,
walk?
but let's say it was going to be a meeting about the caucus. The caucus was going to be invited to talk about their slate, introduce their slate so everybody knew who they were. And other organizations could chime in. The League of Women Voters would be invited. It'd be like think of it as a community discussion.
Okay.
And it could be on any given subject. I it's hard for me personally to think that we would be denied a spot at the Westlake Forest train station that was not being used because the discussion was going to be quote unquote political. Now, did that come from Kathy? Apparently not. It came from the attorney. So
Was this going to be like during the, I mean, I'm just picturing that train station being used for anything but a train station.
oh, it's a huge lobby area at the inside.
Yeah.
Aren't
Yeah, no,
all
I've
the
been in there.
homeless in
I
there?
ride.
Well, Catholic Charities says they've had events. I mean, there's been events there over the
Okay.
years. So it's been used.
Okay. That's a
And
dumb
it wasn't
question. What are
money.
the
It was
rules?
just there aren't any. So
You saying
now
Prue had an event there during the election?
Try
yes,
to.
and I set it up. It was a meet and greet, and she stood inside. People came and
Ah,
I think Randy Tack did too. I think
that
he
is
did.
right. Yes, he did.
So it's not like unheard of. It's not like we've never done anything, but for this particular discussion, the request was denied. And that's just not
But they
fair.
did allow you to use Gordon, right?
Well, Gordon is independent of the
You gotta
city,
pay up for Gordon. That ain't
Oh.
cheap.
independent of the city. So the city as taxpayers, I represented a lot of cities. I've had lots of meetings in many cities along the North Shore. And you know this, Joe, from your work you've done in other areas. There's always a way you can, if there's space available, use that space for any type of meeting.
Well, that
There's-
doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna go
I guess
down
we
this
will.
list because
I'm going to be blackballed pretty soon. I might have to move out of Lake
Take a
Forest.
number. Take a number, young lady. No, but I mean, this is what sticks in people's craw. And like I can't, if there's off time, it's like the athletic fields. If there's off time, why would you deny somebody a place to go do their stuff if you're not making any money or not being able to use it? Or I get it.
I mean, that's what communities are about, like bring people together, enjoy things.
And we could do a community podcast thing here. I'm starting to figure out this live chat. Be
Oh,
careful.
you should do that where people either
Yeah.
call, it's
So they
fun.
come in and they can ask questions and all that. It's like doing the city council meeting, but God, with Randy as mayor, my beef with him is I turn it on and it's over.
To my point.
I love boring government.
Oh, yeah, you caught yourself there, Mr. P.
Well, look, if you're going to have a podcast, you have to have controversy. And I think it needs to be honest controversy because there's always two sides to the issue. If everybody thought the same way, this world would be so damn boring.
Exactly, but don't condemn those that disagree.
Only if they don't agree with me.
Huh?
Only if they don't agree with me.
Yeah, that's what I
Can-
mean.
So there's a way to disagree without being disagreeable,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
And I think Lake Forest would be much better off. I mean, there's this sort of, it's not a lack of trust, but I mean, I felt like I was walking on eggshells to ask for the use of space at the Westlake Forest train station. I've lived here for decades. I paid a lot of money in taxes and served the community well. And I was beginning to think I was asking for a favor, but nobody should have to feel that way.
So I don't know if they have a facilities use policy or
They
what.
don't.
So
They basically said they
maybe
don't.
they need to do that.
Yeah.
On the was this for the transparency group or was this just your own?
Yes, it was my idea, so I, reached out.
So I'm sure you've heard me say it on this show and elsewhere, but I have to ask, does the transparency group, are they going to disclose who gives the money and how they spend the money?
Well, they're a 501c3, and so I actually, as you know, chair a 501c3. That form, it's called a 990 form. It's filed with the Attorney General's office, and I think you can find that out on a yearly basis.
When does that year come up? Because we've been looking and I can't find
Well,
it.
it's a year after they become a 501.
Okay, so they got a
lag time. There's a lag time.
all right. So there's a so a year before they put in their receipts and all that stuff.
No, I'm not, you fill out you have like an annual report that you have to fill out every year, but the annual comes after 1 year of being in business, so to speak.
But could they voluntarily say, hey, put on their website, hey, we're going to be transparent and tell you who's giving us money and how we're spending that money?
You'd have to ask them.
Well, John, I know you're not watching or listening. Okay, come on the show, dude. We don't bite.
So I'm going to defend. I think John has done. I think this organization has really done a good job, and I'll tell you, I know you guys like to get into the partisan stuff, but
Absolutely.
they have Republicans. They have Republicans and Democrats. They're very factual. Whenever they send out a piece, they go back and forth, dot their I's, cross their T's, and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. I give them a lot of credit. They were the ones that found out that the caucus was a PAC.
But
because they hired that lawyer who looked on the State Board of Election website.
Well, nobody knew, including a lot of people in the caucus, that they were designated a political action committee.
I mean, it's on the State Board. I saw it on the State Board of Election website. I was kind of surprised. And most campaigns now do have PACs. I mean, that's a standard procedure now.
But the rules for a PAC, Joe and Pete, are different than what we were being told the rules of the caucus are. As a member, I'm not really a member of the caucus. So, which brings us to, when are they going to address those bylaws, like they said?
Oh God. How do you address it? How do you get enough people? How do you get enough people together? First of all, can I recommend a different bylaws expert whenever they do it this time?
Well, it's not that difficult.
Obviously,
in order to make any changes to the bylaws, you need, what is it? A 2/3? 2/3 vote. So, I mean, for example, I have been harping on that my son goes away to college and he can't vote in a caucus meeting during the school year because he's away and he's not going to fly home for a caucus vote.
No absentee.
Yeah, there's no absentee voting like there is in regular elections.
You got to fix that. That's the problem. But having 1 hour to vote, that's
even that simple act of saying we're going to allow absentee voting requires a 2/3 vote. And I don't think, even when Randy won, he didn't get 2/3. He got, I think, 60% or 59%. So 2/3 is a really tall order to get.
Well, it's hopefully not controversial. So again, you bring the people together. The bylaws, something has to match up with who they are. So they're either a PAC, and if they are going to remain a PAC, their bylaws have to reflect that. And you and I and Mr. Pete are not members. We can't vote, so it won't make any difference. It's out of alignment. You get that, right? I know you do.
I'm looking for common ground. Isn't there something that everybody could agree on to make it easier to vote? Why would anybody vote against that?
Nobody will. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see those bylaws revised, not rewritten, revised. And I think people would feel much better. It'd be a sigh of relief that we don't have to worry about everything associated with our vote. Does it count? Question.
Oh, and my understanding was between the first vote where the caucus officers failed to get the majority, and the second vote where they got 73% yes, there was a lot of meetings and stuff between amongst, like, Joe Reedy met with a lot of people in town. He can't, I mean, he's been on this podcast a couple of times, and I think he pledged to do more open stuff.
Yeah,
So
he
I don't know.
did.
Yeah. So
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Why isn't there any, I mean, I heard they were gonna put an ad hoc committee together and
maybe they have. I don't know. I haven't been on top of it. I'm going to plead ignorance that, and I think during the summer they don't do as much, kind of things a lot of people go away for the summer. But to your point, they did acknowledge that, hey, we hear you and we want to
right.
acknowledge that.
Two things, or let me do Churchill. Two things. Easier to vote. Number two, there's got to be an outcome of the vote.
Three things.
Okay.
Easier to vote, outcome of the vote, and your vote counts.
Isn't that number two?
Outcome of the vote would be the numbers.
There was no outcome, meaning, well, to me, an outcome is it's a binary thing. Something happens. Okay.
Okay. But I was thinking like the total number of people that voted, how many voted for, how many voted against.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What's their reason behind not showing it other than
I thought they did show it. I thought they did show the vote.
no, but I'm seeing the actual something out there that you pay that, because right now it's a cardboard box and a piece of paper, which is cute and all, but pay that money. Okay, great. It costs money. Then, get donors. There's plenty of people who will put money in because this makes sense. There's so much wasted energy on this stuff and dollars. We're talking what? 400 grand on the last mayoral election, Joe. You know the figures more than I. That's a lot of money that could go to Mother's Trust instead of the lawn sign makers.
Mother's Trust is, I think, one of the best charities organizations in Lake Forest.
We see common ground right there.
Pizza uniter, not a divider.
Right. And
Those
then the
people
beef,
who are looking for something to donate to.
Well, yeah, it's like, do you want to give it to the lawn sign makers or Mother's Trust? I think that's how the voter should look at
lawn signs aren't that expensive, but
what are you talking about? What are you
they're
talking
not that
about?
expensive.
You ever buy a
lawn
lawn sign? Get a for rent sign, $100.
They're
$100.
not- Okay.
Whatever.
I'm not sure how effective lawn signs are, but that's an insider politics discussion.
Well,
So,
no. Where did lawn signs start, Susan? Was it a Democrat thing?
Probably.
who knows? I mean, they've been around as long as I've been alive.
I put a lot of value in lawn signs.
Are you serious?
I think it depends on the election. Like, I think
Marketing.
I think presidential yard signs
Recognition.
are a waste. Signs for presidential candidates.
All
are a
right, you
total
brought up
waste.
presidential. Can we talk now?
No.
AOC,
No.
Susan, you gonna have AOC sign in your front yard? Come on.
What, do I seem like an AOC?
I don't know. It's the second time we're together. Biden was Biden put out to that was not what they did to him. They just put him out and they put a bullet in his head. We'll edit that out in post.
Oh, yeah, please.
YouTube will.
Secret Service are going to pay a call to you.
Oh no, they won't do anything. But I mean, slope roof. I mean, come on, whatever side of the aisle. This is some weird stuff. I think this goes past 1968.
I'm the first to agree. I've come up with so many conspiracy theories, but now they're kind of playing out.
Well,
I tell my conspiracy theories to some people, and then I get an email there and they go, "We think you might be right."
Oh,
I mean that hearing the other day with the then Secret Service director who promptly quit the next day. There was people there. I mean, there was anger on both sides of the room. Yeah. I mean, AOC, Pete's favorite congressperson. She read the riot act.
Laura Boebert too. She said something.
I mean, it was clearly a failure of, and I got to work with Secret Service in some advanced stuff for Bush and Dole back in the day, and they were always great to work with. But they planned everything. I mean, they would come out, they would check every little nook and cranny and everything. And I was stunned that they left this building uncovered, because I remember, like, when Bob Dole came to Wheaton, they covered every single building in the 4th of July parade route that Senator Dole was going to be going through with Governor Edgar in
It was outrageous.
1996.
It's just outrageous that that happened and that it almost seemed deliberate. I mean, when you look back, and this morning I was looking at videos where the people in the crowd recognized that there was a lone gunman. I know. And it's
Okay, so we're in agreement. Okay, you cannot. Okay, great. Okay, I feel good about things. But let's play inside baseball, Susan. Now, Illinois politics, national politics, okay, two separate things. But how does AOC going saying, hey, they're trying to kick him out, this is bad, and then all of a sudden accepting the nomination and not the nomination, whatever you call it, the 90 million, I guess that's what it's called. How do you go from one day to that? Like, and then Biden disappears with the letter. Like, what do you hypothetically, what do you think goes down behind the scenes?
Well, Illinois is a different kind of a state, so I'm used to those.
I hear you. I get it. I know where we're at.
Deals.
But people are like, wait a minute. This is freaking wild. What do you think happened?
So the process was bad. There's no question. I mean, maybe people were happy to see Biden move out and Kamala move in, but the way they did it sort of leaves a bad taste, doesn't it, in your mouth? I mean, it makes you feel like they weren't transparent. They were doing this behind closed doors and they made the decision. And then it was like one thing after another. It's like my head was spinning.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at this, because my wife hasn't had Fox on in like 4 years now, she's slowly, putting the needle in the arm and she's going after it.
Wait, she doesn't let you watch Fox?
I hate
go to Duffers and watch Fox.
No, I already know.
They have Fox Sports on at Duffers.
Oh,
look. Echo chambers are boring. Okay, I already know who I'm going to vote for. All right? Whether it's CNN or Fox, any of those people, I get it. They're in it for advertising. I get it, but I need something different. So that's kind of where I'm saying, like, that Biden wasn't going to quit. Then it's like, okay, you don't want to quit? Go on up there and debate him. Boom. He falls. They knew it was going to happen. And they got her in the wing. I thought Michelle Obama was going to come in, but I didn't know that she couldn't get the money. So now AOC gets the money, and
AOC. You mean Kamala Harris gets the money?
Kamala Harris, yes, Kamala.
He's being facetious. You know how well he.
So Kamala gets the money, and then Biden's fighting, and then that's it. I mean, people are saying, like, is the dude alive anymore? He puts the letter out.
Well, we're recording on Wednesday. He's speaking Wednesday night.
Okay.
I assume we'll find out what he does. I mean, there's
I think he wants to
comments.
make sure that everybody knows he's here for 6 more months, and Kamala can't really be running the country.
Yeah.
She's a candidate. Maybe he wants to make that clear.
A lot of Republicans are saying if he can't run, you shouldn't serve, so he should resign. And I'm like, careful what you wish for, because if her becoming president, I think would help her campaign, because then people would see her in action as president, doing presidential things.
But I don't think you can transfer power. This might be in the.
He could resign. I mean, he could resign as president.
Well, what is that amendment that they could kick in? That
25th.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at. Yeah. So we should review that and see what is possible,
Susan,
because
that's your
it could
homework.
happen.
Hey, you going to come back, Susan? You going to review that?
I think there was an episode of Designated Survivor on that. If you watch that show, when Kiefer Sutherland, who's Canadian, was the president.
No, I think
it just feels like no matter what side you're on in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, been unbelievable, the things that have happened and the sequence of order. I think that's even more interesting.
It's been a crazy month, that's for sure. I mean, it's now I got to ask you. You served in the state Senate with a guy who became president, Barack Obama. You got any Obama stories?
Well, one story. So my daughter went to Occidental College in LA, and it's a small liberal arts school. And we get the alumni bulletin magazine, and there's a picture of Barack Obama on the front cover. And, Barack Obama, when he was in college, he looked a little different then than he does now.
Not
And, oh
much.
my God. So I open it up, and sure enough, he went there for 2 years. And I never known that. So he sat right behind me, a couple rows behind me, he was walking by. And I said, hey, we called him Brock. My daughter is going to Occidental College, and I just saw that you went there. And he goes, party school. I went,
No
oh my God,
accident.
our life savings just went. I was so proud of the fact that he was going there.
You had it on presidential authority that it was a
Well,
party
he wasn't
school.
running.
I know, I understand.
Being, friendly, I guess. But anyway, I was like, got punched.
I can't imagine how he got out of Illinois politics unscathed of all the scandals that go on in Illinois with Mike Madigan and Rod Blagojevich, George Ryan. I mean, there's so many scandals in Illinois, and because for years, I remember I had a class in college. The poli-sci professor said there'll never be a president from Illinois again because Illinois is too dirty a state. There'll be some scandal on them or something, and he managed to navigate away from all that, to his credit.
Yeah, he had the Resco thing going on for a while, but so the biggest ethics bill that I think has passed since forever. I was the chief sponsor in 2003, and he was the next in line, chief sponsor. So I'm the sponsor, so I get up and introduce it. He did such a great job of articulating everything about it. I mean, he was just awesome.
He speaks really well, better than me.
And I knew then that, no matter what he ran for, there was no way he couldn't succeed because he could just explain difficult and complicated things so easily.
Why can't Trump smile more?
He does with his grandchildren.
Right.
It's true, he does.
I noticed that I was watching, the convention, and his grandkids, who are so cute, came up, sat on his lap, and he was smiling and looked really happy and content.
Is that because of of China, you think? Just he's trying to or Russia trying to put on a brutal face so the enemies will be afraid of us?
Well, maybe. I'm sure all this stage work goes into like the look you're supposed to have and clothes you're supposed to wear.
Yeah, I failed all those classes. Hey, we're at time, Susan. Did you have anything else that you want to put in here? I think we got enough where people are going to poke at us.
Well, why don't give them my email address. No, but I appreciate
Joe
it.
at lakeforestpodcast.com.
If they do want to poke, they should.
You should ask your friend Prue. Ask your friend Prue to come on, please.
She's in Europe. She's someplace far away.
Okay. Well, they have internet there.
I reached out to doing something.
When she gets back, whenever she gets back to town, we'd love to have
Tell
her.
her to put the baguette down and come on the show. We'll have a great time.
She's probably at the Olympics in Paris.
So I sent the podcast, I forwarded to my daughter who lives in LA.
Oh, yeah.
And she's on top of everything. And so her response was, what you did was good for politics.
There we go.
She didn't say what side or anything like that.
Yeah, good. That's
I
what
said,
we've had Brad Schneider on. We've had Holly Kim. We've had Anthony Vega, Lake County Clerk. Who else have we had, Pete?
He's a great guy. Anthony Vega's
he was a really nice guy. Yeah. And Holly's been on a couple times. She's really nice. And Congressman Schneider was really nice with us. And we had Leon Rockingham, the mayor of North Chicago. Yeah. But that was more to talk about the program that Christ Church does with the North Chicago than politics.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Put a little something out there, a little humor, a little real, some fact, and give enough information where people got to go and say, what the hell did these people say? And then go look it up themselves.
Well, people have come up to me and said they watched the podcast and they liked it. I mean, maybe it just worked that one time. Maybe they all have a different opinion this time, but they
Well, of
liked it.
course.
We get at least 1,000 views every week.
Hey, they love us in Turkey and Naples.
Naples, Florida.
I've done the show from Naples.
Really? Well, you could do the show from anywhere, but you should try to get the live chat or the call-ins or do something like that.
Yeah, I think it's
and people could say, Susan Garrett, you don't know what you're talking about.
or Pete, you suck. I get it. Yeah, I know. Talk to my wife. I think it needs to be on later at it has to be at night. So it's something that's everybody going to be willing to do at night, because during the day,
But you could test that. You could play around with it. It'd be kind of cool.
We're gonna be at Lake Forest Day. We're gonna be in the parade at Lake Forest.
Susan, you gonna be in the parade? Can you help us hand out beads?
No more parades for me.
Come on. You can
I'm
go
paraded out. I did more parades.
I've done a lot of parades too, and I only do this one for Pete.
No, we're gonna have a pickup truck. We're not walking this one. That's bull crap. I'm not doing. I did that once.
I did like I said that Wheaton 4th of July parade with Senator Dole. That was 6 miles. 6 miles.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
And Senator Dole walked the whole thing. I give him credit.
No, he
got in the car.
He levitated.
He was great. I loved him.
So here's some advice.
Hit me.
How people will pay attention to you. Play some music out of your truck.
I want to do a live podcast from the truck.
Okay.
So I think
That
we're gonna
might be hard to follow, but yeah, you could do it because all the different groups.
Well,
if
you show up, we'll see.
Play Toby Keith. Courtesy Red, White, and Blue.
I played the Allman Brothers, Jessica, and people loved it because that was really before country and western was.
What people love are freebies. We're going to be giving away beads with the Lake Forest Day medallion. Just
wow, swag.
We did that last year. I think what we got to do is we got to hunker down by the gate of the fair there, because it's too much of a pain handing those things out because you can't toss them to people. No. You have to undo them, and it's just, I think we'll say, hey, look, this is what we got. Meet us over by the gate, by the beer tent.
And then interview them when they come over.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Susan, you got a lot of great ideas. You could go far in politics.
I want some of your swag. Save some.
Okay, no problem. Do you like 3XLT or 4XLT? Susan Joe, great episode of the podcast, Lake Forest Podcast.
Thank you, Senator Garrett. Thanks, Susan.
Senator, not bad for a rookie.
Oh, I'm learning from you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Find a better example. Bye.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com.
I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for.
We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters.
Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M.